Steelers owner Art Rooney has told Steelers media that the Steelers are going to be open to trading for a new quarterback for the 2024 season. Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today we're going to be breaking down Rooney's comments on the Steelers quarterback situation and what it could mean for the future at that position for the black and gold. But before we get into that, make sure you guys do me a favor, get down there in the comments section and let me know. Would you replace Kenny Pickett this offseason if you were in charge of making that huge decision for this franchise? Type yes or type no. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. So let's start with what Art Rooney II had to say about the quarterback situation. He says, as we sit here in early February, we're not closing the door on anything. We have a lot of evaluations to go through, and we'll go through all the options and do what we need to do to be better this coming season. Number one would look like more points, week in and week out. Just being a more effective offense, continuing to do some of the things we were able to do this year in terms of ball control, being able to run effectively, and then add on top of that, scoring more points. So why this matters for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I think that why it really matters is that these comments show that the Steelers are not fully confident in Kenny Pickett heading into year 3 of his NFL career. And honestly, I don't think Kenny Pickett has really earned that right to this point. Of course, he has not played good football through the first 2 years of his NFL career. And if the Steelers are not sure on Kenny Pickett heading into this massive season here with Mike Tomlin on the final year of his contract, with so much young talent and veteran talent available at the quarterback's disposal, new offensive coordinator coming in. If you're not feeling good about Kenny Pickett after 25 starts in the National Football League, I think you need to get somebody that you do feel that confident about moving forward, especially with as much talent as you have on the roster right now. Now, even though Rooney did say that they're going to turn over every stone here to kind of make sure they get the right quarterback, he did say that the Steelers still have a lot of confidence in Kenny Pickett moving forward. This is what he said. Obviously, we want to see Kenny take the next step. The first 2 seasons, what we saw was not bad, and I'm not going to say that. I think he sure showed himself to be a winner. He showed he's somebody that can bring a team back from behind late in the game. So a lot of positives from Kenny in the first 2 seasons. And listen, I think that the number one thing that you can look at Kenny Pickett's game and say, yeah, this is our guy, is that he has 7 game-winning drives and 14 career wins in the National Football League. I think that's like top 3 in the NFL over these last 2 seasons. So he's definitely somebody that's not afraid of big moments. He's not afraid to sling it. And he actually has done a pretty decent job when the defense knows he has to throw the football at the end of games. But the problem is you got to be good the first 3 quarters, all right? You can't just be good the last drive of the game and score a touchdown to get the win. You need to be able to really lead a team to wins, and you really have to be able to do that for all 4 quarters. And I think there's definitely enough wrong with Kenny Pickett's game to consider moving on from him and getting a different quarterback in 2024. So let's start with the number one reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers may be considering moving on from Kenny Pickett. And that's that they started Mason Rudolph over Pickett, not only in Week 17, Week 18, and in the playoffs, right? When Pickett was healthy, Pickett was good to go. And they went with Rudolph instead of Pickett. And the question worth asking here is that if the Steelers really have a high level of confidence in Kenny Pickett's ability to be the franchise quarterback here in Pittsburgh, why the hell are you starting his backup in a playoff game? I mean, that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. If you have a high level of confidence, Pickett's going to be the guy that can win you Super Bowls, and he's fully healthy and ready to go, why are you starting his backup? I mean, it just doesn't seem to me like there's a whole lot of confidence there. And then as somebody that has watched every single snap of the probably about 3 or 4 times on all 22 film for the Pittsburgh Steelers last year, you could tell that the play calling for Mason Rudolph, you could tell the Steelers have a lot more confidence in him throwing the football than they did with Kenny Pickett. So it doesn't seem like this team has a ton of confidence in him, and it seems like they trusted Mason Rudolph more. So if that's the case, why are you planning on sticking with Pickett in the future? Let me know down there in the comments section. Who's the better quarterback on the Pittsburgh Steelers roster? I know Mason Rudolph is about to hit free agency, but let me know which guy is the better quarterback. Type KP if you think Kenny's better, or if you think Mason Rudolph is actually the better quarterback here. Type MR down there in the comments section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's 10 question. Another reason to potentially move on from Kenny Pickett as the starting quarterback of this football team is that the guy just doesn't get the ball in the end zone, like at all right? So out of all the quarterbacks in NFL history with at least 500 passing attempts, Kenny Pickett is the only one with a touchdown percentage of less than 2%. It is currently at 1.9% of his passes in his career that have been thrown for a touchdown. That is astronomically terrible, all right? That is something that you just do not see anybody do. Get this many pass attempts and be that bad at getting the team into the end zone. You've never seen it. There's been many quarterbacks that have been straight up busts in the National Football League with a better touchdown percentage than Kenny Pickett at this point. Now, the big question here is it Kenny Pickett's fault? Is it Matt Canada's fault? Or is it some sort of combination of the two? Coming up here, I'm going to let you know what kind of role I think Matt Canada had in this struggle for Kenny Pickett to start his career. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Mando. And whether your New Year's resolution is hitting the gym, better hygiene, or simply vowing to keep things cool and fresh below the belt, Mando's whole body deodorant has got your back, or shall I say, your front. Say goodbye to last year's stink and upgrade to a whole new level of personal care with Mando's whole body deodorant today. Your pits and your balls will deserve the best for 2024. So here's the special offer our friends at Mando are offering to you guys today. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code and link. Use code CHAT at shopmando.com. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers because it comes with a solid stick of deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like a mini body wash, which I highly recommend. It smells great, or deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Again, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code that equates to over 40% of your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. Thank you so much to Mando for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. All right, so now number 3 reason to move on from Kenny Pickett is that his production, not just the touchdown percentage, just his production in general, was terrible, even with good weapons here in Pittsburgh. Because you got guys like George Pickens, you got guys like Deontay Johnson, Pat Fryman with a really good receiving tight end, a really good running back duo in Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren. And he still wasn't any good with those guys, all right? So you look at this right here, his stats. Okay, he's 42nd in the league in touchdown percentage last year. That's garbage. Okay, the one thing that he did do well, all right, let's acknowledge the good as well. He was 3rd in the league in interception percentage, right? So he doesn't turn the ball over, but he doesn't push the ball down the field at all right, especially in the red zone, okay? Then the big-time throw percentage, bottom half of the league. He's worse than a couple of backups in true passer rating last year, and the EPA was 35th. Again, backup quarterbacks are getting better numbers than Kenny Pickett had last year, and then he was 31st in overall points above replacement, which is really the big figure that NFL front offices use to determine the value of players. And a big reason for that is because the kid's just not accurate, okay? And if you're not a special rusher of the football like a Justin Fields or something, you just can't afford to have these kinds of accuracy numbers. I mean, 37th in completion percentage, but he's 34th in average depth of target. I mean, how the frick does that happen? I don't understand how you can be a check down Charlie and you're still 37th in the league in completion percentage. How does that make any sense? And this is the guy that's supposed to be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2024 that's going to win us a Super Bowl? No way. Okay, and then you get into the red zone. Again, his numbers get even worse in the red zone. All right, 29th in the league in catchable ball percentage, 33rd in on-target percentage. The touchdown percentage still stinks at 9.4. And then his points above replacement, this guy was actually a negative value to the offense last year in the red zone. He was worth negative 4.2 points above replacement last year. That's garbage. And that's just not, maybe that's on Pickett, guys. Maybe that's not just on Matt Canada. If you're not accurate, if you're not taking advantage of your weapons, all these different things, all right? Can we just acknowledge that Matt Canada's offense was bad and Kenny Pickett was bad? I mean, for these numbers to be this horrendously awful, it takes a bad QB and a bad offense, all right? So I don't want to hear anybody using Matt Canada as a scapegoat for Kenny Pickett because, of course, he wasn't put in the best situation, but there was things he could have controlled that were within his power, like accuracy, okay, that he just didn't do. And that's going to affect an offense no matter what happens and no matter who is calling plays. And listen, the last reason here is that in the same offense, with the same offensive line, with the same weapons, all right, those same weapons that Kenny Pickett had, Rudolph played better than him, all right? He was a backup quarterback. I love Mason Rudolph. He's a Steelers legend for life for what he did this year. But he's a backup quarterback, and he straight up outplayed Kenny Pickett this year by a long shot, all right? You look at these numbers. I mean, it's not even close. Again, this is the same playbook, the same offensive line, and the same weapons, and a backup quarterback has over 10-plus points more in completion percentage. All right, he's throwing for more yards a game. He had half his touchdowns in less than half of his games. He had no interceptions. And then you look at the quarterback rating, it's obviously fantastic. And before you say, well, Kenny Pickett played well in his one game without Matt Canada, guess what? I think Mason Rudolph played better than him in that game. He actually got the ball in the end zone twice that game. His quarterback rating was higher. He threw for more yards in that game against the same defense with the same play caller. All right, so I don't want to hear anything about Kenny Pickett being bad last year because of this offense or because the offensive line was bad or anything like that. Mason Rudolph, a backup quarterback, all right? A good backup at that, I will say that. He's a decent quarterback, was able to do pretty darn good in this offense, and Kenny Pickett simply wasn't. All right, so that's the long short of it here. But could the Steelers end up be interested in Justin Fields moving forward? Well, Adam Schefter, ESPN insider there, went on the Pat McAfee show yesterday and said what it's probably going to take for the Pittsburgh Steelers to trade for Justin Fields this offseason. And some people think it might be a little bit too high. But before I reveal what Justin Fields is apparently worth, according to Adam Schefter, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you love the Pittsburgh Steelers, you love the black and gold, and you want to learn more about the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason. So the report from Adam Schefter here is that Justin Fields could be worth a first-round pick in a trade this offseason. And if the Steelers probably want to go get him, that means it's probably going to have to be a first, all right? Because what he was saying is it's probably going to take either a high second-round pick or a late first, all right? The Steelers don't have an early second-round pick, all right? And there's teams like Las Vegas, Atlanta especially, that are probably going to be very interested in trading for Justin Fields this offseason. Okay, so if the Steelers want to get him, I really do think it's probably going to cost a first-round pick, all right? So that's number 20 overall in exchange for Justin Fields. And listen, if you think this is too high of a price, I completely understand that. I really, really do, even though I am in favor of getting Justin Fields. But maybe a different idea that could work as well is that you can unload Diontae Johnson, a wide receiver who's not really a great fit for this offense anymore now that Arthur Smith is in town. He's on the last year of his contract. That might be a good trade candidate this offseason, and then you trade a third-round pick, number 84 overall, and you still get Justin Fields. You hang on to that first-round pick. Diontae Johnson, who's not a great fit anymore, is sent elsewhere to a team that would really use him there with Caleb Williams, I'm assuming, in Chicago, and then the Bears still get a pretty decent third-round pick there in exchange for Justin Fields. I think everyone's happy with that potential trade offer, but let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Which trade package would you rather send to Chicago in exchange for Justin Fields? Would you rather send the number 20 overall pick, or would you rather send Diontae Johnson and the number 84 pick? Type A or B for me down there in the comments section. That'll be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for all of your support. Make sure you guys type real one for me down there in the comments section if you made it to the end of today's show. And if you guys want a shout out on a future edition of Steelers Talk, all you have to do is give me a follow on Twitter at Jack_Sperry. So today's shout outs, give a shout out to Jack, Will, Luke, Viota to Big Ben. I don't know what that means. I think it's Steelers Nation Fanatic, Hondo, Native, and then Talkin' Sports. Again, all you have to do is follow me on Twitter at Jack_Sperry for a shout out on a future edition of Steelers Talk.